Most of my recent storytelling programs have been for adult audiences, but I still enjoy telling stories to kids, like I did almost exclusively years ago. Here's one of the stories that I've told to several kid audiences. It's kind of a ridiculous story, but they always seem to enjoy it, so I keep telling it. It's a story about Tammy. Tammy is a 8-year-old girl, really sharp little gal. She almost always got A's or B's on her tests and her papers at school. And she always went to bed at exactly 9 o'clock every night. She wanted to have a good night's sleep so she could be sharp and alert in school the next day. Well, one day she was up in her bedroom a few minutes before 9 o'clock getting ready for bed. She got into her pajamas. She went over and turned off the light, got under her blankets in her bed, and almost was going to sleep when she heard something that was unusual for that time of night. There was a whistling of the wind breezing through the branches of the trees just outside of her bedroom window. And that's kind of strange to her. And then something happened that was even more strange. There was a knocking at her window. Well, Tammy jumped out of her bed, ran over to the window, pulled up the shade, and there on the other side of the window was a really strange-looking old woman. Oh, she was strange-looking. She had kind of grayish hair that came down over half of her face in waves, and she had a red splotchy forehead and great big bushy eyebrows and a long nose with a hook at the end, red cheeks, and great big blubbery lips. And Tammy said, "What are you doing outside of my bedroom window? This is my bedroom. What are you doing up here?" And the old lady looked at Tammy and said, "All right, Miss Tammy, I'll show you what I want with you when the time is right." And then she just disappeared. Oh. Well, Tammy went back to her bed. You took an awful lot to spook and scare Tammy. She's a pretty rough little gal, and, well, she got under the covers of her bed again and went to sleep. Well, the next night she was up there again a few minutes before 9 o'clock getting ready for bed, and she went over and she got under her pajamas and went over and turned off the light, got under the blankets of her bed, and was about to fall asleep when that wind started picking up again just outside of her bedroom window, whistling through the branches of the trees. And then she heard that knock again at her window. Well, Tammy jumped out of bed, ran over to the window, pulled up the shade, and there again was the same old lady. Oh, she had this long, wavy, gray hair that came down over half of her face. She had sort of a red, splotchy forehead, great big, bushy eyebrows, a long nose with a hook at the end, red splotchy cheeks, and great big blubbery lips. And Tammy says, "What are you doing outside of my bedroom window? You were here last night, and here you are again. What do you want with me?" The old lady looked at Tammy and said, all right, Miss Tammy, I'll show you what I want with you when the time is right." And then she just disappeared. Oh. Well, Tammy went back to her bed, got under the blankets, and went to sleep. The next night, Tammy got involved with a game. She was playing one of these Nintendo games, and she kind of lost track of time. You know how that is with games? You just forget how rapidly time goes by. Suddenly she looked up at the clock, and it was about a minute past 9 o'clock. Well, she dropped her game and ran up to her bedroom, got her pajamas on, went over and turned off the light, got under the covers of her bed, and she waited for a moment. But then she just about fell off to sleep when she heard that same noise outside of her bedroom window, that wind whistling through the branches of the trees. Tammy listened for a while, and then she heard that same knocking at her window. Tammy jumped out of her bed, ran over to the window, pulled up the shade, and there is that same old lady again. Had this long gray hair coming down over half of her face, splotchy forehead, great big bushy eyebrows, a long nose with a hook at the end, red cheeks, and big blubbery lips. And Tammy says, "What are you doing here at my window? You were here the last 2 nights, and here you are again. Now you tell me what you want with me." Well, the old lady looked at Tammy and said, "Well, okay, Miss Tammy, I'll show you what I want with you." And she took her bony finger and put it up right next to her mouth and said, "I want to show you this." And she went, and then she just disappeared, and she never came back again. And that's the story.